There's a moment we've all experienced, the split second after a wave of anxiety passes, where silence briefly returns, and you feel, if only for a breath, what peace might actually be. In those small slivers of calm, you catch a glimpse of a life unburdened by the endless swirl of worries, to-do lists, regrets, and fears. That state is not some mystical dream reserved for monks or sages. It's a state the Stoics believed we could learn to dwell in, no matter the noise of the world around us. In our modern lives, stress is often seen as unavoidable. The deadlines, the expectations, the demands on our attention. It feels like we're always on the edge of drowning. But the Stoics would challenge that view entirely. To them, peace was not found in the absence of external pressures, but in mastering the internal response. To live life stress-free, not by controlling the world, but by controlling how we perceive and engage with it. This video explores the Stoic blueprint for stress-free living. Each chapter is a guidepost drawn from the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, and others. These are not abstract ideas for philosophical debate, but living tools shaped by war, exile, power, poverty, illness, and every hardship a person can know. What they offer is not escape from stress, but a way to rise above it. We will walk this path together, step by step, as the Stoics intended, through reason, reflection, and disciplined action. With that, we begin. Chapter 1. Control what you can, let go of what you can't. At the heart of Stoicism lies a radical clarity. There are only two categories in life: what is within your control and what is not. Epictetus, born into slavery and later a revered teacher, said plainly, "Some things are up to us and some things are not." This is not merely a statement of fact. It is a lens through which the Stoic sees the world. Stress often arises when we fixate on things beyond our control. We worry about how others perceive us, what might happen in the future, or the outcome of efforts we've already made. We agonize over the potential fallout of a decision, even when it's too late to change it. We replay conversations, imagine worst-case scenarios, and let our minds spiral into hypotheticals that rarely come true. The Stoics teach us to draw a clear boundary in our minds. On one side, the things we can influence, our judgments, actions, and intentions. On the other, everything else. This is not about detachment or apathy. It's about responsibility and clarity. If something lies within your control, then you must take full ownership of it. That includes your attitude, your honesty, and the quality of your effort. And if it lies beyond your control, then you must learn to release your grip, no matter how tightly you want to hold on. To cling is to suffer. To demand control over the uncontrollable is to invite endless tension into your life. We practice this daily by identifying, in any moment of stress, what part of the situation is truly ours to command. Are we doing our best with the tools we have today? Are we approaching the moment with integrity and reason? Are we making decisions that reflect our values, regardless of whether the results are favorable? If the answer is yes, then we can rest easy in the knowledge that we've done our part. If the answer is no, then we adjust course without self-punishment, because we've been given the chance to improve. But we do not waste our emotional energy on the wind. We adjust our sails and continue forward, grounded in what we can steer. Try this. When you feel stressed, pause and write down the source of that stress. Then draw two columns: what's in your control and what isn't. You'll find clarity. More often than not, most of what troubles you belongs in the second column. Practice releasing it. Chapter 2. Perception is power. Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled an empire and faced constant war, family betrayal, and illness, often reminded himself, "The things we suffer derive not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them." In other words, Stress is not in the world. It is in the mind. It is not the things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. This understanding, so central to Stoic teaching, is a doorway to liberation. We tend to believe that external events are the cause of our suffering, the traffic jam, the rude email, the unexpected bill, but the Stoics teach that between event and reaction lies a powerful space, the space of perception. And within that space is our freedom, the ability to slow down, interpret consciously, and decide how we will respond. We may not control the stimulus, but we control the story we tell ourselves about it. Perception is not passive, it is active. You choose what story to tell yourself about what happens to you. A setback can be an excuse to despair or a lesson in resilience. A betrayal can be a wound or a test of your character. Every experience is neutral until our minds give it meaning. When we cultivate a mindset rooted in wisdom, every trial becomes training. Every difficulty becomes a chance to demonstrate inner strength. This doesn't mean we deny reality. It means we interpret it through a lens of strength and intention. It means we look clearly at what is in front of us and refuse to make it heavier with assumptions, fears, or imaginary narratives. We acknowledge what's painful, but we don't let pain become suffering. We recognize hardship, but we don't compound it with unhelpful interpretation. When we train ourselves to reframe difficulties as opportunities, when we deliberately choose empowering meaning, we begin to short-circuit the spiral of stress. We replace panic with perspective. We stop being passive consumers of our experiences and become conscious architects of how we live them. This is not simply about being positive. It's about choosing a perspective that empowers action, clarity, and peace, regardless of what life throws at us. The power of perception lies in awareness. It's not something that just appears one day. It's something we must build with practice. When we notice our automatic reactions, we give ourselves the ability to pause. That pause is where we reclaim sovereignty over our own mind. The more you practice, the faster you catch the stories your mind spins, and the easier it becomes to rewrite them into something that serves rather than sabotages. It's a skill, and like any skill, it gets sharper the more we use it. The moments where we pause, reflect, and ask, "Is this how I want to see it?" are the moments where we reclaim our peace, our power, and our presence. This simple act of inquiry transforms perception into a tool of resilience. As Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, once wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." This profound insight echoes the Stoic idea of inner freedom. No matter what external chaos surrounds us, we still retain the ultimate power to choose how we respond. Frankl's words serve as both a testament and a torch, lighting the path toward freedom through the darkest experiences imaginable. He endured unimaginable loss and suffering, yet still uncovered the ability to choose meaning, to act with dignity, to hold fast to his humanity. In choosing our interpretation, we shape our inner world, and in shaping our inner world, we learn to live beyond stress. This is not philosophy as abstraction, it is philosophy as survival. It is a call to remember, always, that the mind rightly trained is the refuge that no storm can destroy. Next time you feel overwhelmed, pause and ask, "What story am I telling myself right now?" Then rewrite that story from a position of strength, not delusion, strength. How is this challenge an opportunity to grow? Chapter 3. Live according to nature. To the Stoics, living according to nature wasn't about hugging trees or returning to a primitive state. It was about aligning yourself with the nature of things, particularly your own nature as a rational being. Stress often arises when we live in conflict with ourselves, when we violate our own values, or when we resist the reality of how things are. Nature is not chaotic. It has order. The seasons change, the sun rises, the body ages. Acceptance of this order is the beginning of peace. We suffer when we expect the world to conform to our wishes instead of adjusting ourselves to the flow of life. Your nature as a human being includes reason, social cooperation, and virtue. To live in alignment with this nature is to live with clarity and strength. When you act against it, when you deceive, avoid responsibility, or indulge in constant distraction, you invite stress into your life. Seneca put it this way: "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." This single line captures a massive portion of human anguish, the silent storms we invent in our heads. Often, the scenarios that unravel us never actually occur. It is not the present moment that brings distress, but the anticipated fear of what might come, or the invented tragedy of what could have been. These imagined sufferings weigh heavily on us, but they are ghosts with no real form. We suffer too because we fight what simply is. We resist change, delay acceptance, and demand a reality that bends to our personal expectations. We want the world to operate by our timeline, our terms, and our ideals. When it doesn't, we experience frustration, not because the world is wrong, but because our expectations are misplaced. Yet life continues on its course, indifferent to our resistance. The more we struggle against what is, the more we exhaust ourselves trying to fight the tide instead of learning how to float with it. The Stoic path offers another way: alignment. This doesn't mean agreement with every circumstance, nor does it mean passive resignation. It means a courageous surrender to the truth of what is, and a consistent return to what is in our power to shape: our thoughts, our values, our actions. When your actions reflect your deepest values, when you do what is right, not because of reward or punishment, but because it is your nature, your life becomes simpler, clearer, and freer from the friction that breeds inner turmoil. The daily chaos loses its grip, and you begin to experience a rare internal order. You are no longer tossed around by the expectations of others or the unpredictability of fortune. Their opinions no longer shake you, and the ever-changing external world feels less like a threat and more like a setting for your growth. Instead, you stand firm in a quiet certainty, knowing your character is intact, your intentions are clean, and your heart is aligned with your principles. When your mindset reflects the reality of the world, its impermanence, its unpredictability, its beauty and tragedy, you begin to experience true freedom. You stop needing the world to be easy and instead become someone who is ready. You stop seeking peace from external calm and instead cultivate peace that is self-generated and self-sustained. Life becomes less about control and more about composure, less about getting your way and more about finding your way through anything. Stress finds no place to hide in a person who is both grounded in their nature and reconciled with life as it is. You are not fragile anymore because you are not pretending the world will protect you. You are preparing yourself to withstand it, to navigate it, and to find joy even within it. In this harmony, you do not escape the storm. You become unmoved by it. You do not outrun the chaos. You become the stillness within it. You do not fight every wave. You learn how to float, how to swim, how to breathe even underwater. That is the freedom Stoicism points toward. Not immunity from hardship, but invincibility within it. Not a life of comfort, but a mind fortified against the discomforts that will inevitably come. It is this transformation, from reaction to resilience, from expectation to equanimity, that defines the Stoic's greatest strength: peace that nothing can steal. Reflect on the last time you felt deep stress. Was it because of a conflict with your own values? A refusal to accept something outside your control? Write about it. Then ask, what would it mean to live according to nature in this situation? Chapter 4. Practice voluntary discomfort. One of the most surprising Stoic practices for stress reduction is the deliberate practice of discomfort. Why? Because fear of discomfort is one of the main drivers of anxiety. Our minds often amplify the threat of hardship, painting it as unbearable or impossible. When we fear what might happen, we stress ourselves into paralysis. But when we train ourselves to befriend discomfort, to walk straight into it on our own terms, fear begins to lose its grip. The imagined monsters lose their power when we willingly sit beside them. Seneca recommended going without luxuries from time to time, not to punish himself, but to remind himself that he could survive it. Once you know you can handle hardship, its power over you fades. You stop living in dread of what might go wrong because you've tasted it and found that it didn't break you. In fact, you became stronger for it. This doesn't mean seeking suffering for its own sake. It means proving to yourself that comfort is not your master, that you can withstand and grow through the harsh, the rough, the unpredictable. In a modern world of convenience, we are rarely forced to test our resilience. But voluntary discomfort is a kind of inoculation. It prepares us for life's uncertainties by building mental toughness. It builds confidence. It tells your nervous system, I have faced worse and endured. And more than that, it tells your soul that you are capable of choosing difficulty over ease when virtue demands it. This is a kind of training that modern life often neglects, choosing effort, simplicity, and temporary hardship to strengthen the mind and clarify what truly matters. This practice also exposes our dependencies on comfort, on praise, on control. We begin to see how much of our peace is tethered to things going our way, to people liking us, to circumstances remaining predictable. Once we begin to untangle from those needs, we experience a rare and radical kind of freedom. That freedom is the opposite of stress. It is self-reliance, earned not in theory, but through action. And that, the Stoics would say, is the foundation of an unshakable life. Choose one day a week to deny yourself something comfortable. Skip your favorite indulgence. Take a cold shower. Speak last in a conversation. Walk instead of drive. Do push-ups and sit-ups when you wake up in the morning. As you do it, remind yourself, I am training for life. Chapter 5. Embrace the present moment. The Stoics did not speak of mindfulness in modern terms, but they lived it in every sense of the word. Marcus Aurelius wrote, confine yourself to the present. Seneca said, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future. These teachings reveal that presence of mind is not a modern invention, but an ancient practice rooted in simplicity, awareness, and intention. It is the deliberate act of being awake to your own life while it's happening, not after the fact or in anticipation of what may never occur. Stress loves to live in two places, the past and the future. We ruminate on what went wrong, dissecting every misstep or mistake with a harsh inner critic. We replay conversations, overanalyze decisions, and try to reverse what cannot be undone. Or we catastrophize what might go wrong, imagining scenarios that rarely unfold as we fear. The mind becomes a theater of suffering, rehearsing pain that either already happened or may never arrive. We become actors in a drama that exists only in our heads. Rarely do we sit squarely in the now, yet the now is all we ever truly have. It is the only space where we can act, the only moment that is alive and malleable. The past is unchangeable, the future unknowable, but the present is rich with potential, meaning, and movement. It is where our values can meet our actions, and where clarity cuts through confusion. By grounding yourself in the present moment, you remove the fuel of most stress. You give your attention a direction and your emotions a place to rest. You step out of the noise and into the signal. You release yourself from the exhausting habit of mental time travel. When your mind wanders to future outcomes, gently bring it back to what you're doing now. When regret creeps in, ask if it helps you act better today. If it doesn't, let it go like a breath. Presence is a quiet rebellion against the chaos of overthinking. It's a discipline that liberates. This is not a rejection of learning or planning. It is a refusal to abandon your power by living in places you cannot control. It's a bold commitment to engage fully with the moment, to face it as it is, without fear or fantasy. To be grounded is to be strong. To be awake is to be wise. The Stoics trained their minds through constant reminders. Marcus wrote to himself daily, almost like prayer, not to impress others, but to return to himself. His journals were not for the world, they were for self-correction, self-remembering. This isn't passive meditation, it's active attention. It's choosing over and over again to be here, not elsewhere. To not let time slip away unnoticed. To not allow anxiety to steal the only thing we ever really own, the present moment. This act of presence isn't a singular epiphany, but a disciplined return. Like a muscle, your attention must be strengthened through deliberate and repeated practice. The stronger that muscle becomes, the less power distractions and stress will have over you. The practice of presence doesn't mean ignoring the past or future. It means not being owned by them. It means acknowledging that both have value, but neither deserves to dictate the terms of your daily peace. It means carrying the wisdom of the past without its burden, and preparing for the future without being consumed by it. We take from the past only what sharpens us, and use the future only to guide us, but we never sacrifice the present on their altar. Living in the now is not a passive experience, it is an act of strength, a choice of consciousness. It is the difference between merely existing and truly living. It means learning to live on purpose instead of autopilot, to wake up to your life instead of sleepwalking through it. It is awareness sharpened into action and clarity anchored in calm. It means stepping into each day with your eyes open and your heart grounded, knowing that each decision, no matter how small, is part of your character. It means choosing how to respond instead of reacting out of habit. It means replacing busyness with meaning and distraction with direction. It means being intentional with your time, your thoughts, and your energy. It means making contact with the reality of each moment instead of drifting in abstraction. It means living now so that when you do look back, you do so without regret, not because everything went perfectly, but because you were truly present for it. You faced it with attention, and attention is love in motion. Plan wisely, learn from mistakes, look forward with courage, but return always to the place where your life is actually unfolding. The present is where action is possible. It is the only place peace lives. It is the forge of habits, the space where transformation occurs, the quiet field where gratitude takes root, where presence blossoms into power. It is where all strength begins and all joy is received. The soul breathes freely here, unobstructed by memories or projections, and this breath, the breath of now, is what gives us life in its purest form. And in the moments you are fully present, even the hardest days become easier. Not because they change, but because you do. You bring clarity to confusion, strength to fear, and stillness to movement. You bring your full self to the moment, and in doing so, you reclaim your sovereignty. You move through life as a grounded participant, not a scattered observer. You begin to notice the quiet beauty hiding in plain sight, the simple rhythm of the now. This is the Stoic way, to anchor deeply in the now, to fortify the mind in the moment, and to rise unshaken again and again. It is not merely a path, it is a posture, one you return to like breath, one that makes every moment sacred. Set an hourly alarm on your phone. When it goes off, take 3 breaths and ask, where is my mind right now? If it's anywhere but here, gently return. This tiny ritual, repeated daily, can change the texture of your entire life. Chapter 6. Detach from outcomes, attach to effort. One of the greatest illusions that feeds stress is the belief that we must control how things turn out, that the worth of our actions is determined by their results. This belief is so deeply ingrained that we often don't even question it. We pour ourselves into projects, relationships, or goals and link our sense of success and self-worth to their final form. The Stoics saw this differently. Epictetus taught, "You have control over your actions, not the results of your actions." These words form one of the most liberating truths in Stoic thought. The essence of peace lies in shifting our attachment away from outcomes and grounding it firmly in the effort we give. We want our plans to succeed. We want to be appreciated, understood, successful. These desires are not wrong in themselves, but when we cling to them as conditions for our peace, we trap ourselves. Our minds begin to treat outcomes like necessities rather than preferences, and our emotional well-being becomes tied to things we cannot fully control. Life doesn't always cooperate with our expectations. Events unfold as they will, often shaped by forces far beyond our control: timing, chance, others' choices, and unknown variables. The Stoic doesn't deny desire, he refines it. He channels it inward. He directs his desire toward what is fully his will, his actions, his character. He aims not for perfection in results, but for integrity in process. Because when your sense of peace depends on something beyond your reach, it's always vulnerable. But if it rests on your effort, your discipline, your courage, your sincerity, then peace becomes yours to command, no matter the storm outside. This shift isn't about resignation, it's about redirection, from the uncontrollable to the controllable. This mindset frees us. It removes the pressure to control what we never could and helps us return our focus to the only place where change is truly possible, within. It changes the way we approach our days, not as contests to be won, but as crafts to be practiced. It removes the need to manipulate every variable or stress over every detail. You no longer base your value on metrics or milestones alone. You measure it by alignment with what is right and what is honest. You begin to trust that a good life isn't measured by outcomes, but by the consistency of character. You trade perfectionism for progress and approval for authenticity. It allows us to ask, am I showing up fully? Am I doing what's right, not just what's profitable or popular? Am I acting in alignment with my values, even if the outcome is uncertain? These are the questions that lead to a stress-free life. Not the endless pursuit of control, but the quiet confidence of purpose, the ability to act with excellence and release the rest, the choice to build your peace on your actions, not external applause. Detach from outcomes, attach to effort, make the doing your reward. This simple shift changes the way we experience everything, from our work to our relationships to our inner dialogue. When we learn to find fulfillment in the process itself, we no longer rely on results to feel worthy. We begin to experience peace not as a fleeting moment earned by success, but as a steady state cultivated by intention. Find joy in the process, even if it's quiet and unseen. Let the care you bring to the task, the presence you hold in the action, be enough. The world might not notice the discipline you practiced or the courage you summoned, but you will. and that awareness is a powerful reward in itself. Celebrate the fact that you had the courage to act when others hesitated. Recognize that stepping forward, even into uncertainty, is a triumph of character. You resisted the pull of paralysis, the temptation of comfort, and instead chose participation. Take pride not just in what you accomplished, but in how you carried yourself. Your steadiness, your integrity, your patience, your willingness to try. These traits are not dependent on any external applause. They are evidence of your personal alignment, your inner truth in motion. In this way, even setbacks become victories because you remained true. You honored your values even when the outcome didn't reward you. You stayed steady in your effort, even when recognition didn't follow. You chose character over comfort, and in doing so, you chose peace over pressure. This kind of peace isn't fragile. It doesn't crack under failure or vanish with disappointment. It's earned, anchored in self-respect. And in a world that constantly tempts us to chase validation, that choice is one of the rarest and most powerful freedoms we have. It's a quiet kind of strength that carries you through the noise and lets you walk your path with calm, certainty, and quiet pride. Pick one task today, an email, a conversation, a creative project, and give it your full, undistracted effort. Don't rush. Don't check for results. Simply act with care. At the end, instead of asking, "How did it turn out?" ask, "Did I show up with excellence?" Let that be your peace. Chapter 7. The Wisdom of Enough. In a world that celebrates excess, constant growth, and never-ending ambition, it can feel radical, even countercultural, to say, "This is enough." Yet this is exactly what the Stoics encourage us to examine. Seneca warned that it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. Peace does not come from abundance, it comes from clarity, knowing what truly matters, and releasing the need for more when what you have already sustains you. We're conditioned to chase more money, more recognition, more achievement. From a young age, we're taught that progress is measured in accumulation, whether that's wealth, status, or success. The messages are subtle but relentless. You are only as worthy as your resume, your bank account, your accolades. We believe that once we reach that next milestone, we will finally relax. But the finish line keeps moving. We outrun contentment in pursuit of perfection, and even when we attain what we thought we needed, the satisfaction is fleeting. What once brought joy becomes the new minimum. The mind adapts to gains with startling speed, and what once felt like enough soon becomes the new baseline for more. Like a horizon that recedes as we move toward it, the promise of peace tied to external success forever stays just out of reach. The Stoics would have us pause and ask, what am I really after? Is it the object, or is it the feeling I think it will give me? Often what we seek is not the thing itself, but the state of being we imagine it will bring. Peace, fulfillment, security, admiration. But these are not things you hold, they are states of mind, and they can be cultivated independently of circumstance. No amount of external gain can substitute for the internal grounding of knowing what is truly enough. True sufficiency comes not from having everything, but from needing less. Until we learn to define enough on our own terms, the world will always try to convince us we haven't arrived. And if we don't question that lie, we'll exhaust ourselves chasing shadows. Say to yourself, I am exactly where I need to be right now. Let that be a grounding truth, not a passive surrender, but an active affirmation that this moment has meaning, that you are not late, not behind, not broken, that the journey is unfolding precisely as it should, even if it doesn't look the way you expected. It's not about staying stagnant. It's about making peace with the present as a valid, necessary part of your evolution. It reminds you that life unfolds in layers, and each layer, even the difficult ones, has its purpose. Even if you're striving for more, remind yourself that this moment is not a mistake. It's part of the path. Every step matters, and even detours serve as lessons in disguise. Say to yourself, this or something better. These words carry hope without pressure, presence without passivity. They speak to trust in the unfolding of life, not as blind optimism, but as a reasoned faith that aligns with your effort and your values. They remind you that your current experience is not the ceiling, it is either your landing place or a launch pad. They acknowledge your effort while releasing your grip on what must be. They give space for possibility without the need for control. They keep you anchored in now, while still facing forward with trust. This mindset is not resignation, it's resilience. It's trusting that either this is enough or something even more aligned is on its way. It means living with open hands rather than clenched fists. It's not letting go of dreams, but letting go of desperation. It's cultivating a stance of patient strength, grounded in acceptance, yet open to transformation. The wisdom of enough is about measuring life differently. Instead of counting possessions or praise, we count moments of truth, depth, and connection. We count the invisible wealth of presence, the inner confidence of doing what's right, the peace that arises from choosing simplicity over noise. Was I kind today? Did I act justly? Did I live with integrity? Did I slow down long enough to be present with someone who needed me, or with myself? Did I pause to appreciate something I usually overlook? Did I nourish what matters, or was I swept away by urgency? Did I stop long enough to feel the sun, to hear a laugh, to breathe deeply with gratitude? If the answer is yes, then you are rich. Wealth in this sense has nothing to do with accumulation and everything to do with alignment. A simple life guided by virtue is far more peaceful than a life of endless acquisition. It doesn't mean giving up your ambition. It means anchoring it in your values. It means defining success not by how much you have, but by how well you've lived. Not by how full your schedule is, but by how full your heart is. What matters most cannot be counted, only felt, and the Stoics remind us that value lies not in what you gather, but in what you become, in the strength of your character, in the peace of your inner world, in the legacy of kindness, courage, and truth you leave behind. This doesn't mean rejecting ambition or success. It means being conscious of what drives you. It means striving without straining, acting without attachment. It means not confusing the symbols of a good life with the substance of it. A bigger house, a fancier title, or a full calendar are not inherently meaningful. They only gain meaning if they serve your growth, your service, and your truth. When you embrace the wisdom of enough, you reclaim your time, your energy, and your sense of worth from the endless race. You begin to move through the world with a sense of sufficiency, knowing that what you give matters more than what you get. You learn to give generously without depleting yourself, to rest without guilt, and to pursue excellence without anxiety. You create space for joy to emerge not as a destination, but as a companion along the journey. You stop waiting for life to deliver peace and start becoming the kind of person who carries it within. And from that place, you create not just a quieter mind, but a richer life. One that is built not just for appearance, but for meaning, not just for speed, but for depth, not just for now, but for the long road of peace. A peace earned not through possession, but through perspective. A life that is not only well lived, but wisely lived. At the end of your day, ask yourself, what was enough for me today? Was there a moment where I felt truly content, even briefly? Write it down. Make this a habit, and you'll begin to notice that peace already exists in your life. You just have to train your eyes to see it. Chapter 8. Let go of the need for control. Stress often blooms in the space between what we want to control and what we can actually influence. The Stoics drew a clean, unwavering line between the two. Some things are up to us, Epictetus said, and some things are not. The more we try to command what lies outside that line, other people, outcomes, the past, the future, the more we suffer. Peace comes not from getting everything under control, but from learning how to respond with strength to what we can't control at all. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means you've stopped waging war against reality and begun to live in harmony with it. It means shifting your energy from relentless control to deliberate presence. Letting go is not a retreat. It is a redirection. It means recognizing the difference between responsibility and obsession, between healthy preparation and the burden of perfectionism. You can still plan. You can still prepare. But you plan with flexibility, and you prepare without the assumption that everything must go your way. You show up, you act with integrity, and then you release the outcome. You let the results fall where they may without letting them determine your worth. The Stoics were not passive. They were principled. They didn't abandon effort. They focused it where it mattered most, on their responses, their values, their clarity of thought. They let go of control so they could rise with focus in the moments that called for courage, not panic. Most of our stress is not about what's happening. It's about what we believe should be happening. It's not the moment itself. It's our mental resistance to the moment, the inner argument that whispers, "This isn't how it was supposed to be." It's the story we tell ourselves about how things should have gone, how life should be, or what others should have done. These mental scripts become rigid frameworks that don't allow for the unpredictability of life. When reality doesn't conform to our expectations, we suffer, not because of the event itself, but because of the meaning we've layered on top of it. This narrative becomes the true source of our suffering. We create tension by clinging to a version of reality that doesn't exist, holding on to imagined outcomes as if they were owed to us. Our attachment to those expectations makes any deviation feel like a failure or betrayal. But when we let go of that resistance, when we release the fantasy of how things were supposed to be, we open up space for clarity, acceptance, and emotional relief. The pain passes more quickly, and it doesn't compound into resentment or metastasize into long-term bitterness. We breathe again. We realign with the flow of the present. We return to the simplicity of what is, not what might have been. And in that simplicity, there's a quiet power, a strength that does not clench its fists, but opens its hands to life as it is. When we release our grip on how life must unfold, we don't become passive spectators. We become clear-eyed participants. We stop wasting energy on controlling the uncontrollable and instead channel our energy into responding with wisdom, grace, and clarity. This act of release is not weakness. It is the strongest kind of surrender, the kind that accepts what is real without giving up what is right. In that letting go, we make room to experience the richness of what's already here. We stop resisting and start receiving. We begin to notice the subtle beauty of ordinary moments, to see more clearly what matters and what was only noise all along. We reclaim our strength, not the strength to force things into shape, but the strength to remain soft and steady amid uncertainty. We become resilient not by hardening, but by staying grounded while flexible. We learn to bend without breaking, to adjust without abandoning ourselves. We return to reality, not the fantasy version we clung to, but the life unfolding right in front of us. And in that grounded presence, we return to now, to this breath, this step, this act of clarity. The now is the only place we are ever truly free, the only moment where peace, action, and presence live. It is the meeting point of power and surrender. It is where the noise fades and the soul finds its steady rhythm again. Today, catch yourself in the act of mentally gripping something outside your control. It could be a person's opinion, a delayed plan, or a conversation that didn't go how you wanted. Breathe deeply and say to yourself, "This is not mine to control, but how I show up still is." Chapter 9. Slow down to live deeply. In a world that moves fast, we're praised for multitasking and sprinting from one moment to the next. We idolize hustle and glorify exhaustion, treating stillness as laziness and rushing as virtue. But the Stoics were masters of deliberate living. They knew that the rushed life is often the shallow life, that to move quickly through everything is to connect deeply with nothing, that presence is a form of power, that by slowing down you reclaim attention, and with it, your peace. Because attention is the currency of life, and when you give it away too freely, you lose track of what truly matters. Slowness allows reflection. It gives you the space to hear your own thoughts, to notice your breath, to feel the rhythm of your own heart. In a fast-paced world that demands speed and constant output, slowness becomes a rare kind of wisdom. It allows you to listen more intently and to act more consciously. You develop the ability to pause before you speak, to observe before you judge, and to respond instead of react. It opens a window into your interior world and lets you make sense of your emotions, choices, and values before they are buried beneath a dozen distractions. When you move too fast, your actions outpace your values. You're pulled forward by pressure, not guided by principle. You become reactive instead of intentional. You lose track of why you're doing what you're doing and fall into a pattern of automatic behavior, an endless stream of tasks and to-dos that fill the day without feeding the soul. There is no space to question, no time to listen. But when you slow down, you align again. You remember what matters. You reconnect with the why behind your actions. You begin to notice beauty in the mundane, to build depth in your relationships, and to give full effort without burning out. You begin to work from the inside out, not from the outside in. You create enough space in your mind to choose your response, instead of being ruled by impulse or urgency. Slowness gives you back your agency. It returns you to yourself. It turns the blur of life into something meaningful, something vivid, something lived. To slow down is not to retreat from life. It's to enter it more fully. It is not laziness, but clarity. It is to recognize that a moment is not something to race through, but something to savor. That depth is more valuable than speed, and presence more powerful than productivity. That your life is not measured by how much you finish, but by how well you notice what is unfolding. Life is not a race to finish. It's a process to fully experience. It's a sacred unfolding of now after now. It's not about how quickly you get somewhere, but how present you are along the way. The goal is not to do more, but to live more fully in what you do. To feel your feet on the ground when you walk. To really taste your food. To truly hear the voice of someone you love. To take a breath before you speak. To hold space for silence. To move with intention instead of inertia. To speak with purpose rather than noise. To think, feel, and act in alignment. To see your life not as a blur, but as a mosaic, each moment a tile placed with care. To be in your life rather than racing through it. In slowness, we find space, and in space we rediscover peace, not a peace given to us, but one we cultivate with every mindful step. It is in slowness that your life becomes your own again. Block off just 10 minutes today to do one task slowly. Eat slowly. Walk slowly, speak slowly. Let that one act be a signal to your nervous system. You are not behind. There is nowhere more important than this moment. Chapter 10. Peace is a practice, not a place. The greatest myth about peace is that it's something you find, something you stumble upon when circumstances align, or when everything outside of you finally settles down. The Stoics knew better. They understood that peace is not an accident, it is a product. It is built, moment by moment, by the quality of your attention, the nature of your thoughts, and the integrity of your actions. Peace is not a destination, it's a discipline, a cultivated state of being. It is not dependent on the world calming down, but on you rising up calm within it. It is a choice you make again and again, especially when chaos knocks on your door. True peace is not passive or fragile. It is forged in difficulty, shaped by the fires of discomfort, and preserved by practice. You don't wait for peace to arrive like a guest at your doorstep. You train for it, you earn it, you protect it, you nurture it in the quiet spaces where no one is watching. You strengthen it the same way you build a muscle, with daily repetition, mindful awareness, and the courage to let go of what weighs you down. You maintain it not through perfection, but through recovery, through the act of returning again and again to what steadies you. It grows each time you choose reflection over reaction, action over avoidance, understanding over assumption. Each time you step away from the need to control, the urge to compare, or the habit of overthinking, you water the seed of peace within you. Peace is cumulative. It gathers strength with every honest breath, every chosen pause, every graceful surrender. Every moment becomes a chance to build your resilience, your presence, and your wisdom. Living a stress-free life does not mean you will never feel overwhelmed again. It does not mean you are immune to hardship or untouched by moments of fear, sadness, or doubt. It means you gain the tools to navigate overwhelm without being consumed by it. It means you develop the strength to return to yourself, even after the world has shaken you. The Stoics never promised a life free of adversity. They promised a path to meet it well. They offered a compass, not a shield. A path to walk upright through the storm, not to avoid it entirely. They taught us to face chaos with clarity, to greet hardship with wisdom, and to respond to pain with purpose. Living a stress-free life means you learn to return, to pause, to breathe, to listen, to soften into awareness instead of hardening into resistance. You learn to recalibrate when you lose your footing, to come back to the present when your mind begins to drift, and to reset your posture when your principles feel shaken. You train your mind to remember who you are when the noise is loud and your thoughts begin to scatter. You remind yourself of your values, of your virtues, of your center. You begin to build a life of principles, not just preferences, because preferences will flee in the face of pressure, but principles will guide you through it. You build inner architecture, foundations of courage, stillness, patience, and integrity, values and virtues that hold you upright when everything else trembles. This structure is invisible, but it is the strongest thing you carry. You learn to live from a center that is not moved by passing waves. You become the still point in a spinning world. You stop looking for the storm to stop and instead become the eye of the storm yourself. And from that life, layered with clarity, simplicity, humility, and courage, peace becomes your natural state. Not a moment you hope for, but a way you walk. Not a gift given by chance, but a legacy built by will. Not a reward at the end, but a companion along the way. Not a temporary relief, but a home you carry within you, wherever you go. A deep, enduring home, woven with silence, presence, strength, and light. Make a peace ritual, something small you do every day that reminds you of what matters. A walk, a paragraph from a Stoic book, a deep breath before speaking. Keep it simple, but keep it sacred. Let it anchor you again and again.